Hello everyone, welcome to today's Novage webinar. Pickup Vectorworks Q&A with Jonathan Pickup. Join us for a special Q&A with CAD Guru, Jonathan Pickup. Jonathan is trained as an architect with more than 30 years of experience. He has been writing and producing Vectorworks manuals and providing customer support for more than 20 years. His company, mark this word, ArchonCAD, is the premier provider of third-party manuals and training resources for Vectorworks. He offers monthly webinars and maintains the Visual Knowledgebase for Vectorworks. And as I said, Jonathan joins us from New Zealand. And let me tell you a little bit about Novage. Novage is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, and faster service. And as you know, Vectorworks 2021 is out, so if you need anything, you know where to go. And now I'm going to share your screen, Jonathan, so they can see Vectorworks rather than my slides.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah, screen 2. Sweet, you can see my screen.
Yeah.
I got a little test house here that we're going to have a play with. So one of the things I was talking about, Barbara, so some people were asking someone asked what my favorite things was, and someone else would like to see how materials work in Vectorworks. So I guess we could focus on those couple of things. I didn't practice materials. I haven't really played with them a whole lot yet, so it'll be a little bit of experimentation for both of us. Richard would also like to look at the new, what sort of new door and window types we've got. But one of the first things I was going to look at, Richard, was how to speed up your workflow. There's this new thing in Vectorworks called the smart options, these things here. And I like them a lot. So I was going to go through those and show you what I've done to them. Back to Vectorworks preferences, smart options display, and I'm going to choose one here. So I've actually made a little palette of a little pet, I've called it. And when I go to my smart options, it just has the tools that I want to use. It's got the tools that I use on a regular basis. Things like dimensioning, some 3D modeling tools, some things like reshape, mirror, rotate, the sort of editing tools that I use regularly. Now, there are some tools that I remember the keyboard shortcuts for, and the keyboard shortcuts are still the quickest way to work. And if you don't remember the keyboard shortcuts or the hotkeys, there it is. Rectangle is key number 4, circle tools key number 6, the polygon is 8, the walls are 9, and so on. So those are still the quickest way to get access to them. But there are some tools like the Move by Points tool, which I've set to Shift and Z. And it might sound weird, Barbara, but those two keys are closest together on the keyboard, and I'm so lazy I can't be bothered stretching my fingers. So I use that tool a lot, and that's a nice little, now I'm right-handed, which means that my left hand can stay on the keyboard, and that makes it easy for me to just hit those two keys. So the next, I guess the first thing is you grab something, you create something like this, and then you can go hit the tab. I've got it set so the spacebar brings up these, and then I can grab the rotate tool, and I can rotate that object, and then I can spacebar again, and I can choose a different tool like clip or trim or something like that. So it makes it really quick, and you'll notice that it's not like the Vectorworks standard interface where every editing tool is there. So if we go back to the standard Vectorworks interface, standard architect one. So in the standard one, when I go spacebar, come on. All right, let's go back to this one, Vectorworks preferences. It's turned off again. Now in Vectorworks, they use the view draw options. This is the standard interface. When you go there, you end up with every viewing and drawing tool, which is replicating this tool set here. I'm just not a big fan of that, so I've tended to go back to the one that I've created, which I've now got to change back my workspace, back to my one. So I created just a little one that made it much easier, much quicker for me to get access just to the tools that I want. And you might notice that as well as some two-dimensional tools, I've also included some 3D tools. So So if we go back to here, my little palette. Now when I click and I bring up my palette, you'll notice there are things like shell solid, extract surface. I use this one a lot, the extract surface, the push pull I use a lot. And I could remember their keyboard shortcuts, but what I don't like is where there's 2 keys required, like Shift plus R. Well, this one hasn't got a hotkey. This one, Shift plus L. And L is so far away, I need to sort of move my hand down the keyboard. So I don't like those so much, and I think they're best in that pet palette. But sorry, in the smart options. Now the smart options I think are really powerful, and I really believe you should take control of those smart options and make them your own. And the way that you make them your own is to customize your workspace. And I'm going to create a new palette. So a new tool set is what I need to create. A new tool set. I'm going to put it in here. Now just in here, I've got my new tool set. This is where I hide. This is for things that I want to hide. Let's change the name of this and we'll call it My Smart Options. So now start putting the tools that you want into My Smart Options. So if you like 3D modeling tools, put those in. If you like basic tools or dims and notes or creating or viewing and drawing tools, put those in. So just put in what the tools that you think you like, the tools that you use all the time, put them in here. And then what you can do is you can add that to your smart options. Just wait for my screen to update. So let's go to my Vectorworks preferences. And now you can change and put My Smart Options in there. So let's try that. Spacebar, My Smart Options, and there's only the tools I put in. So that's the way that I would use the smart options. I would put in the ones that I like. So I've got my ones, and it's just, I just keep track of the tools that I like and I put those in. One of the things I would like to go through today, if it's all right with you guys, I'd like to look at materials later, but I did wonder, Richard, whether I should look at something like these detail reference tools. Now, those of you that don't know what I've just done, I've set up multiple, I've got multiple views on my screen. Vectorworks has had multiple views for ages. This is a rendered view. This is a sheet layer of a section, and this is a sheet layer view of my details. So I'd like to put these detail references on here so that we can have a look at it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through this one here. This is actually named Eve's detail, and down the bottom I've named this one my barge detail. And those of you that have listened to me before, you know that when I create viewports, I'm quite particular about giving them names, naming each viewport so it's easy to find. So I'm going to right click and edit my annotations. I've actually got my right click or my annotation set so that double clicking on a viewport edits the annotations. So if you don't know where to get this, right click, choose edit, and set this to do what you want most of the time. If you edit the crop most of the time, set it to crop. If you edit the design layer most of the time, set it to edit the design layer. I edit the annotations a lot, so I've got mine set to edit annotations. Now, how does that work? It means that when I come to this viewport and double click, I'm straight into the annotations. No mucking around, no dialog box, just straight in. And now I can put this detail reference tool on. The detail callout tool has been improved. So let's just create one of those. There's my detail callout tool. One of the big improvements for this tool is the ability, I think I can also change the vertex radius. Here, I'm going to change that radius to, I think, 8 inches. That's it. And I thought I could do all of them. Probably when I placed it, I could have done all of them. So let's do that again. I'll go back and I'll place it, and I'll set my settings ahead of time. So I want that. Fillet radius 8 inches. So there we are. That's a nice looking one. Maybe make it heavier, maybe give it a dashed line, just so that you can make it your style that you want. But the big improvement for this was the ability to click and move this button around, or click and move this one and actually have it move all the way around your detail reference. I think this is so cool, being able to do this now. It used to be a real problem moving these around. You couldn't just move it up or down that line. Now you notice it actually turns the corner Very nice. I can now link this just up here. I can link this to a viewport, and I've got a couple of viewports already created. Now you might remember I talked about naming the viewports quite accurately. And so here I've got a barge detail, or I've got an eaves detail, and it's quite easy to find them now because I've named them in such a way that it makes it easy to find. The other thing I didn't use very often, but I've started using more, is this part up here where you start to type in. So if you've got a lot of details you're looking for, you can start to type in foundation detail and actually find the thing that you're looking for. It's very handy. So that's now linked to that one there. And we know that if I update this number here, make that number 1, let's renumber everything, that number automatically lines up. Now, one of the things that Vectorworks has introduced is the ability to create a back reference. A back reference is where I tell somebody where this detail is in terms of another drawing. So for example, this is a section, it's on sheet 13. It would be nice if I could say to a contractor when he's looking through my details, you can see how this detail appears by looking at sheet 13. Now, where I live, back referencing is becoming a big issue, and for building consent or for building approval, some of our councils, some of our building authorities are starting to say, your drawings aren't complete unless they have a back reference to them. So let's have a look here. So this object is now a drawing label. It's a drawing label object. When I bring my drawing label object in, we now have drawing label objects. So drawing label objects are like a data tag, but they're not actually a data tag. They behave exactly like one, but they are a separate object. Again, if we look at our resource manager, and we look at our small house, let's look at all resources. Now you'll notice that I've got detailed callouts as a separate object from drawing labels, and they're separate from data tags. So although it uses similar technology to a data tag, it is not exactly the same, and you can't use data tags as a drawing label. I think I've tried that and it didn't work. Where's it gone? Drawing label, let's have a look here. I think I've got some data tags here. I've actually got some data tags in my library file, but they don't show up when I'm looking for a drawing label. So it has to be a drawing label object. So I've got this drawing label object. What I'd like to do is to find that in my resource manager. Here's one here. I can't see exactly. And here's, you might notice this one, I've actually taken the number off it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. This is going to be my drawing label number 2, and it's going to be drawing label with a back reference. Let's have a look at my back reference. So I'm going to right click, and now I'm going to edit this. And this is, sometimes I forget to do this one here where you actually edit the layout. So it should open a separate dialog box for me to edit the layout. Here it is here. So that's my drawing number there. I'm going to lift that up to there. I'm going to copy it. Maybe I'll just drag a copy of that down to there. Now this part here, so this is, it's similar to a data tag, and that you've got the define drawing label. Let's end up on my other screen, hold on. So here it is here, this is my drawing label. Let's get rid of that, all of that stuff there. And here you then choose find the back reference, add to definition. I always forget to click that one. And then when I exit my drawing label, okay, and now I'm going to swap that. So let's just replace that one with my other one, with my back reference. And you'll notice that it doesn't say what the back reference is yet. So let's select our back reference. So when I select my back reference, it brings up a dialog box like this one. What's my back reference? And I'm going to say all objects linked to the viewport, my detailed callout, which is on sheet 13. And I should end up with sheet 13 now as my back reference. I see I should have carried that line back. Let's edit this. Edit my layout again. This line here. selection, so that line there. I'm going to drag that line back to there and drag that end. So I've got here, I've got some constraints. These constraints are actually designed so that as you draw the objects or as you change the title, it automatically stretches your label, which was kind of cool. But it does catch me by surprise sometimes, and sometimes when I want to edit this, I'm finding that it's slightly tricky, so I'm just going to, you'll notice the blue handle turns up, then it doesn't turn up. I might have to take away the right constraint. Can I add that? No, it's giving me a challenge. I end up drawing a separate line. So I'll just leave that alone for the time being. But you can see how I could update that label and then it would update on that drawing, which is kind of cool. So I can actually choose where my back reference is for that, which I thought was kind of important. Now, someone's been asking about my materials. One of the questions I've had so far about materials is, have I updated my wall style library to update all my materials? The answer is no, I haven't, but it is something that I should do. And so what we could do is have a look at see how materials work and have a play with those. So that was one thing I wanted to cover was the back referencing and my labels. And now I'm going to have a look at my library. So let's have a look. I've got a library here. Let's open my library. So since you've asked about my library and my wall style library, I may as well just open it up and let's have a bit of fun with my library. I'm not sure if I've got all my walls somewhere. It'd be kind of handy if I did. So I will create a new, let's just have a look. I don't see walls, so I'm going to create a new design layer for my walls. And I should have up here some wall styles that I can start playing with. So wall styles, there they are. Let's start with this one here. And I'll just draw a little, usually what I do is draw a little segment of a wall so I can see what it looks like. And that way I can have a little play with it. Now, quite often these are using styles that don't exist. So I might have to play with these and change some of these so that I use something like the wall layer height and 8 feet tall. So that's my wall style, and this should have on the inside one finish and on the outside a different finish. So this is where the materials could become really useful. So let's edit this one. We've got a cladding, which is an outer finish. Let's have a look at that. And I've got a texture on here, which is a wall panel, but I'm not using materials. So I could select here and choose a material, and I'm just using a default material. I'm actually using sheet material. This is a cement sheet. I wonder if there's any cement sheet materials. Nope. Cement. There's cement board. Maybe that cement board would do fine. Oh, fiber cement sheathing. That's probably the one I want. So let's choose that one and then OK. OK. I've got it on the other screen again. Okay, so let's replace all that stuff. So you should notice that the inside, which this is the inside, is actually an external face. Previously it had the cladding of the plywood, but now it's got this cement sheet board. The cement sheet board doesn't seem to have joints in it, which I would normally have in that material. But it does mean that I could go through and start to change some of these. So if I go back to this one, let's edit that one. Now that I know what I'm doing, I should be able to go to the cladding, double click. We're going to choose material. Yes, we're going to use that material. Okay, okay again. And that at the moment might be the only material I want to change. You could, of course, start to assign materials to the inside as well. So this is my wall lining. and we're going to use one called, well, we call it Gibraltar board. No, drywall. No, it's a cement, it's a sheet cladding. Sheet panel, OSB. I don't use OSB. I was trying to look for a Gibraltar board or a drywall type finish, but what I was hoping, maybe a paint finish. Is there a paint finish? That'll do. Select. Okay, so that's a paint finish on that wall now, and I should do the same with the other one, so that if I want to use an internal finish, I can then select the material I want. So Brian, I'm actually gypsum. Of course, I spelled it wrong, didn't I? Let's do that again. Edit. Lining. Use material. GYP. Is there one there? Oh, gypsum board. Yay. Thank you very much, David. So I spelled it wrong because where I live, we spell this with the trade name is GIB, Gib. So gypsum board, cool. So I can select that as a cladding. And what you might want to have is the gypsum board with different paint finish for each one. So let's select that one, gypsum board surface hatch, and it's going to put the dotty surface hatch on it maybe, and okay again. So that should be the lining on the inside of my wall. There it is there. Let's edit this one. I think that's my paint finish on that particular one. And it's the paint. So we're going to use gypsum. Empty. We'll use that one again. Use material. Okay and okay. So I got gypsum there, and I should have two walls that are similar. And this again, I've got to tell it to use the wall layer height and 8 feet. So those two materials should be similar. We've got the gypsum on both walls. Now, what does that mean? So what I need to now do is start thinking about what are my materials. So do we have materials here? Materials, gypsum board, let's edit this one. So what options do we get with the materials? We get an ability to change the texture. We can put a mark or a reference for this. We can give a keynote. We can talk about the construction of it. Do we want to report it as a volume? Do we want to report it as a component area? Do we want to put in a manufacturer of this information? What's its physical qualities? Yeah, this is going into areas which I'm really not an expert in. But we can look at the textures. So if I say that the texture is something different, let's make it paint. What sort of paint finishes have I got? I'll change it to that one and see if it makes a difference. So I'm going to say that's the texture I want to use. Okay, downloads it. And both of those walls have updated. So I haven't had to change the texture. By choosing the material, I can then make sure that material applies to each of my objects. So if we go back to, is it gypsum? Surface hatch, let's go back to that one. Okay. Now the surface hatch should actually appear in a rendered. So if we go back to a hidden line rendering, you can see the dotted outline of the gypsum on there. That should mean that I can then go back to my fiber cement sheeting and I can edit this and assign a different hatch to that or a different texture. So for this, for example, Tadeo, I think I got a Tadeo Endo concrete texture. So let's go back to OpenGL and let's spin our view around, and we should see it looks more like the sheathing or the material. And that should be quite cool, because by changing the material, by saying these objects have the same material, I can now start to apply materials over the entire project, not based on classes, not based on wall styles, but based on materials, which I think should be really powerful. I don't know if anyone else has got a question about the materials. Brian, it does mean I think that I would have to go through my entire library. Let's go back to wall styles. These are all my wall styles that I use on a regular basis. So it would mean going back through these and changing some of them that use cladding systems and updating them to use the material objects or the materiality. So Richard's got a question about that. So would you classify objects based on function, not material? Sorry, David. That's a good question. Do we want to base material? Do we want to classify? Well, don't forget that, let's go back to this. Materials and classes are for different things. So for example, I've got a set of drawings here. Let's say, for example, I've got an exterior cladding, I've got an air gap, then I've got my rigid air barrier, and I've got my internal lining. Those are still classes. So I still want to turn those off based on classes. If we go to here, let's have a look. I think we've got classes starting with wall cavity. So I want to turn off my cavity. I want to turn off my cladding. I want to turn off my lining. The cladding is the material. So at the moment, it's a little bit unclear, I think, whether you're going to use materials for that or classes for that. Now, the answer, I think, for me would be in 3D, you're using materials. But for producing drawings, you might use classes to control visibility. But you may not need to use classes to control materials. Let's edit a class, and I'll see whether I can control the material as well. So we've got graphic attributes, we've got textures, we've got descriptions, and we've got visibilities. But you notice that we don't have materials on that. I'm starting to, materials have only been here for a short time, remember? So I've started to think about using materials, particularly if you know that you've got a building with some steelwork and all the steelwork's painted the same. It's easier to apply a material to that, I believe, because you know that material covers all of that. So when we use a material, for example, using the steel column, we know that all my steelwork's painted the same. It's good to apply a material to that, I think, rather than a class, because I might want to have steel columns shown at the time where I don't want to see my steel beams. So beams and columns might be on separate classes, but they're actually made out of the same material. So I think that these are for different reasons. I don't think you can use materials instead of classes or classes instead of materials. I still believe that classes are a great way of controlling visibility, but I think materials are probably a great way of controlling the graphic style in 3D of those objects. Because you could have two columns that are the same class, but different materials. You might want to paint all your columns a different color. Therefore, you'd want to have all your columns the same, different materials, but on the same class, so that for your drawings, you can turn them all on and off at the same time. People have been asking about materials for a long time, and now we've finally got them. I think it's just going to take us a little while to get used to using them. But as you say, Brian, I'm going to have to go through this, and I'm going to have to update this to make it work for me. My footing is just pure concrete. This is a block wall with plaster on it. So I'm going to have to think carefully about these. Let's have a look at this one. Let's edit this one. My insertion options. This one has no components. So those are my insertion options, textures. And you notice that when I go to textures, I don't get the material nature of this either. So the if I go back to here and I create a new component, then I can assign materials. I can't assign materials to the entire wall, but I can assign materials to components of the wall. So that what you end up doing is you end up putting the wall, let's use a material. This is concrete block, concrete, what do we call it, CMU. So I can choose that, and that will pick up some of that information and whether it uses the class or not. So some of my walls I need to change and some I don't. So at the moment, Richard, that's the best I can do for materials to explain how they work. I hope that's covered it. And someone, Richard, I think you're also asking about the doors. What can we do with the door? I haven't had a good look at the door options to see what they've changed in them. So we have swing doors, barn doors, double swing, double egress, folding. Let's do folding, double bipart. I think there's still a challenge. You can't have 3 on one side and 1 on the other. And configuration, folding, swing. We can have an opening, cased opening. We've still got sliding, swing, single leaf, double leaf. We do have the opportunity to have some open, some closed. I'm not sure if that's new. But I'd have to play with those. I think, Richard, you probably know I don't use these doors very often. I use another one. Let's go back to the settings. Should we make it wider? So you can do more leaves with sliding doors. Let's do sliding. So we can do multiple. Oh, what about multiple bipart? What can we do with that? Leaf number 4, can we do 3? Doesn't like 3. It'll do 4, but it won't do 3. Multiple, 4 going one way. That's not bad. You can do 4 going one way. Can we do 3 going one way? Yeah. Can we do 5? Can we do 10? Oh, look at that. Cool. So you can do odd numbers there. And you can also choose whether they all slide or whether some slide. Which one do I want? XXO I thought I wanted. To the 3X's. So we got those sliding ones, multiple. We've done the multiple. Let's do pocket, single, multiple. So we can do multiple pocket doors, bipart, double bipart, and single. So I guess that's new, isn't it? The ability to choose those pocket ones. Folding. I've only still got only folding bipart. And I can't choose how many I've got. I can't have 3 on one side and 1 on the other, which I quite like. Single. What else is there? Look under configurations. I think I've done that, haven't I? Yeah, configuration. So I've had a look at those. We can do kick plates. We could do those before. Second leaf. Well, second leaf might be interesting to look at. Let's go back to the settings. Let's go to a folding door. And let's look at the second leaf. Oh, can't turn that on. Leaf, flush, glazed. I don't think that's changed much. Configuration, pocket. Okay, and sliding. Okay, so there's some more configurations here. So back to the general. So we're going to go sliding, multiple. We'll do 3, and sliding. So use style, width, size, leaf to clearance. If I go pocket, I've got more choices. Barn door, I've got even more choices. I guess you can do a bit more with your doors. What other questions we got? So we've looked at materials. There's not a whole lot of questions, Barbara.
I know. everybody's very shy or very at peace with with Vectorworks.
Someone wants to look at stairs. So James, did you want to look at the regular stair tool or the custom stair tool? I've not played with stairs much. Has the stair or the custom stair tool been updated? I can't recall that they've updated, particularly the custom stair. Those of you who don't know, there was an old stair called the custom stair, which I still find really useful. Handrails have updated. The ability to do handrails and have them joined together, that's updated quite a lot. Let's have a look. Custom stair. All tools. So custom stairs have been relegated. You have to go looking for them. Custom stair, there it is. And I quite like the custom stair. I normally add it to my workspace because I still like it. It does things that the other stair doesn't do. Now, you guys know that this isn't just supposed to be what's new in Vectorworks 2021, don't you? This is supposed to be architectural things. Barbara, there's a 2021 what's new coming up, isn't there?
Yep, on October 14th, mark your calendar. We'll be back with Jonathan and everything will be illuminated.
So standard stair looks pretty much the same. 2D graphics. Oh, I better change a standard stair configuration. Let's choose one of those. An L stair. 2D graphics. So this you can still use the construction geometry. That's the one. So you can still change the angle. I think I can change it to 105. Make that so you can still change that. That was there before. I don't notice a whole lot of differences to this dialog box at the moment. I tend to change these ones. So if we go back to my tread depth, this is 280 and 165. Now 166 will do. I didn't like it. So I'm going to change this offset 1 here to half a tread, which is 140, and then lock it so that when I make changes, it won't unlock. 140 there, lock that again. So what would be ideal is that as you make changes to the stair, as you change treads, you've locked the relationship between that corner and the start of that tread and the top of that tread, or the top of that riser, and the start of the angle. And if you don't lock it, every time you make changes to these and you take one stair off and add one stair, so let's say if we make 7 at the bottom, you'll notice that because I've locked it, it doesn't change that relationship. As soon as you unlock these and start changing this to from 8 to 9, you start getting a different relationship and they start moving around. So it pays you to change these, lock them. I usually use half a tread, usually works out pretty well for the handrail. But let's have a look at construction. I think the construction looks pretty similar. They usually change a little bits with these floor connection details so that you can play with those. Quite often with the lower floor, I don't connect it to that part. I tend to make that a 0 as well, so that it just sits directly on the floor. One like that, pretty much like that one. So it just comes down and sits directly on the floor. You can change the upper connection detail. And that should sit my stair on the floor again. So there it is. You can see my string comes down and sits flat on the floor. When we render it in when we render it in hidden line rendering, you can see all the little pieces that they use to make up the stairs. And there isn't a lot you can do to get around that. In OpenGL, you don't see it. We've still got the same, I think, configuration for the handrails and the guardrails for the stair. And the custom stair, I don't think they've made any changes to the custom stair. So we'll choose one that's similar. So general, it goes up, turns the corner. We've still got the same type of configuration, I think. We've got flights, we've got the next, got the width's the same, the angle is -90. And it's the same sort of stair. The style is closed and sloping, and its construction style is monolithic. I quite like using this particular stair for really quick design. I find it really handy. If you open this up, you can, this one you have to manually calculate. So side one, let's go back, previous. So let's say, for example, I like using 900 wide stairs. Number of treads 7. Let's go to the next one. Side 2. So the start width should be 900. The end width 900. The length of side 1 900 plus 140. So in other words, go back. You physically have to add this 900 plus 140. I should be able to do this in my head, but I'm not going to. Apply, and let's go to the next one. We'll make this one also 900 millimeters. Apply that. And so I should end up with the same configuration, half a tread before it starts, half a tread there. The handrails for this custom stair aren't as nice as other things. Now, if we go back to the handrail tool, I haven't practiced this, remember, so I'm gonna have to do this on the fly a little bit. So I've got a handrail that starts here, goes to that point, and it starts here and goes to that point, and it starts here and comes down to there. And they don't quite join neatly. You can see they're just slightly off. That's partly due to my clicking. Let's try that again. So I'll go from that point there at the top of the stair, down to the bottom of the stair, and hopefully they line up this time. It's not bad. So you can see I've got extra things at the top there. There is now this new fence join one. As I said, I haven't played this one, so I'm going to try it out, see how it works. So I'm going to join that one to that one. It doesn't like it. Why doesn't? Oh, maybe it doesn't like joining unless it's on a corner. But that would be an ideal one, I would have thought, to join those together. Let's try joining that one. Join that one to there. So there's options here about how we join them together. Sloping fix, top rail height. Let's try the top rail height one and see what we get. So let's join that one to there. Still doesn't like it. Let's turn that one off. It still won't join. I would have thought that would join, but obviously it's giving us a fight. So I'm going to have to play with that and see what options we've got for joining those, but it was supposed to be able to join these together. Let's try dragging that one to there. The examples I've seen are more like this with the railing fence, where this one comes up from there to there, and then you can join those two together. So let's grab that one. Let's try that again. No, it just says that won't join those two together, which is a bit of a pain because that would have been quite cool. Oh, maybe I need to do the top one in the top plan view. We'll try that. Fence, railing fence. Let's do this one. So from there to there. Oh, now it's at the wrong height. There. So this is the last attempt I'll have at this. If this doesn't work, I'll have to go away and find out how to make it work. Yeah, all right. So there is the new railing join tool. The movie I saw made it look real easy. Obviously, I'm having trouble with it. What other question we got? So the custom stair tool hasn't been updated, not that I could see. But we've got, so one of the questions we've got, how do you white colored windowsills like a conventional graphic? Let me have a look at that question. So you want to do a windowsill, which is a different, so am I right, Will, in thinking you want to do a different windowsill? You want to do white windows, but that's limiting. Windowsills pick up the general window color. Are you sure they pick up the window? Have you tried playing with the classes of those? Let's go back to a window. So there's my window object there. And let's have a look at that. So settings, got a rectangle. Let's have a look. Jam, where's my jam and sash? So my jam width, 25. Let's make that 150. Sash width, 40. I want to see if that looks more like what we want. Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, Will, you want to change this graphic color of that jam and windowsill. Or do you want the windowsill a different color from the jam? I'm not sure what you want. Okay, so when we go to settings, can we not go through the 3D visualization? Where's the classes here? So interior jam is on a separate class. Where's the 2D visualization classes? Okay, so let's make a class for the interior jam. Window interior jam. Window, we'll make a new class for this. Interior sash. Interior jam, interior sash, okay. 3D visualization. Okay. Now I'm wondering whether I can use those new classes to control the graphic style. So let's go to my interior jam, let's edit that. We'll use a creation, we'll change the color to, how about we change it to pink. And the interior sash, let's edit that. We'll make it black this time. Use a creation, we'll make it black. Maybe we need to use a texture as well. So we'll give it a brick color, that should be odd. And if we go to the interior jam, let's edit the interior jam. We'll give it a texture. Should we give it water? That'd be weird. So my suggestion, Will, is to use, if you want to make them in 3D different colors, then use classes to control those jams and sashes that way. If you're talking about in plan view, you want to the frame and sash dark, but the sill still white. So, Will, I think what you're trying to is you want the frame to be that color, but you want the sash piece to be white. You can't do it traditionally. What I suggest you do if you want that to be white is to put a little rectangle there, extrude it. What have I done with that rectangle? Let's do that rectangle again. So I'm going to use my rectangle tool, start here. I'm using that mode. So there, extrude it by 1/4 inch, 6 millimeters, and then you should have a separate object there that you can then play with. Where'd it go? For some reason it went backwards on me. So I could give that a different texture as well. So you could use that as a different texture. And then back to my interior jam, let's edit that. textures here, put that back to what we used on the other one, which is that color. And so now I've got a separate piece that I can choose. I can also then, of course, make changes to that. Where's my push-pull tool there? I can also grab that face there, and I can pull that face out, and I can make that cell any depth that I want, which will be separate from your window. But it is a separate object, and it does mean that you have to go in and make that change to it. So Richard, that would be my idea for the separate cell. But you need to be looking at it in real detail for it to make sense. And in 2D, you can't, I'm not sure you can do that in 2D. Let's go back to that. Settings, 2D visualization. So you've got the jam here and the sash and the cell. So let's do that by class, but this is only controlling the line weight, I think, the line of those objects. So if you change that cell and make it window, interior jam, where's interior sash? That one, interior sash. Let's do that. Let me delete my little piece of 3D modeling I made. So if we go back and edit this, you can see I've given it that color, but it's not shown up here with that color. If we change that class and give that class a heavy line, it doesn't change that either. Let me go back to my window. Settings by class, set attributes by class. Cell is using that. Let's make the jam the same. Window, interior sash. And you can see it, then it gets really heavy. And window class. Now it's light, but you can't see the difference when I choose the cell here. You should get a heavy line for the cell, but you're not getting it. So it's limited. Are there any other questions under jam and sash? So Richard, I've done that, haven't I? Gone to the jam and sash and not got what I want, because what we're asking for is for a cell through here in 2D that looks different from the cell in other parts. But we're not getting it. I'm just curious how much detail you need to go to for that, because if you look at some of the drawings that you have to do, it's not easy to see the jam and the sash difference unless you go into a zoomed in bathroom type thing. So do we have any other, how are we getting on for time, Barbara? Oh, we just got out of time.
I think we ran out of time. Why don't you tell everybody about ArchonCAD? Oh,
could do. Some of you already know about me. Some of you have been here already. So this is my knowledge base. We have, what have we got for windows and doors? Oh, stairs. So I type in stairs, what have we got? We cover stairs and things like our special interest group. We've got a vertical transport. So this is a subscription site. And one of the things today we're talking about Architect. Every month I run special interest settings or special interest group webinars for architects. Richard comes along to them. It's a question and answer session. And in my sessions, I tend to open up the microphone so you can hear me. And these are the ones that we've covered so far. It's not bad, Richard. We've covered quite a few different topics over the years. What's the first one? January 2018 is the last one that I've saved on here. And it just makes it a great place to come and get more knowledge. And I have no idea how many movies are here, Barbara. I've just lost count.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, write it down. And thank you so much, Jonathan. I will take the screen back just to remind everybody where to go if they want to upgrade to Vectorworks 2021. You know where to find us, novage.com. I'm recording this session so you can watch it later or rewatch it on YouTube. And thanks again for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day, and see you again on October 14th with Jonathan for what's new in Vectorworks 2021. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.